Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Big T, right here with all of you today, and welcome to episode number 320 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast for today, Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. And I'm very pleased to be here today, of course, as all of you know, over the past, over the past month now, been doing this great podcast series, a four-part series. Today actually is the fourth and final part of this particular series. And I would like to say part one, we did have the beginning. Part two, we had WCW, WWF days. Part three, we had TNA days. And now, for the fourth and final part, life after professional wrestling. And I would love to welcome back to the show for the fourth time, Mr. Erik Watts here with us today. How you doing, Erik?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How about you?
Doing great. I mean, we started this venture on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Now we're here Wednesday, July 7th, 2021, and we're here at the final chapter, and I'm excited to get into it. And thank you for being here.
No problem. No problem.
I would like to start off by asking you, because we talked about, all of your years in TNA last time.
Right.
And we all know how that wrapped up, why you had to get out of there and whatnot.
Right.
What happened after that? Like after, you got your release and you went home, were you thinking that this was it for professional wrestling, or did you think you were going to resurface again? What was going through your mind at this time?
No, I mean, at that time, with the injuries and with everything that I was going through, it was pretty much time to hang up, the boots. I have once or twice, well, I say once or twice since then, 5 or 6 times since then, thrown on my boots for a match, a charity match or, something big. I can't remember what it was. The guy brought me in, signed autographs at a pretty big deal like 3 years ago, I think it was, 4 years ago, for Flair's like 60th birthday or whatever the birthday was. He had all the original Horsemen and Rock and Roll Express and all this other stuff. So I went in and did an autograph session, and then I actually wrestled that night. So not that it's happened often. Once in a blue moon, on a special occasion, I have put my boots on. Someone asked me last week if I would do it for a show, a big Thanksgiving show, and I was like, no, I don't really want to anymore. It's just not. It's kind of one of those things that if you do it here or there for a good reason, yes, but minus that, it's because my injuries never went away, I can't ever expect to do anything. Plus my age, but still, I mean, guys that came back and rebirthed at 50, 51, 52, and wrestled till they were 60, or at least were in the limelight type stuff, and I haven't had that interest.
Yeah. Well, you got Sting out there in AEW. He's, 62 now?
He's like the fountain of youth, bro. I don't even know anymore, but yeah, he's pretty impressive.
It's amazing to see what he's doing, really.
Yeah.
You don't see that many at that age still going at, like the co-main event to main event level.
Right. And I know Jericho's younger, but Jericho's got to be getting older as well,
Yeah.
to be doing as much performing as he is. Heck, I read an article where Batista even said this is going to be his last Guardian of the Galaxy, because he said at age whatever he was, 53, 54, 55, he said he doesn't believe that he can be in the shape he needs to for that character as far as all the muscle and everything anymore. And that was really wild for me to, read, because you're thinking, man, Batista could, he can get his body in shape no matter what. But even he's coming to reality that keeping his body in ultimate shape is too tough for him as far as a role. And that role, is very good to him financially. So it must be a big enough deal to him that he takes enough pride in what he does that he's drawing the line.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up Chris Jericho, because he's my all-time favorite. He's been my favorite since day one.
Yeah.
To see him still doing what he's doing today is unbelievable. And it just got me thinking, did you ever get a chance to face Chris in the ring?
Wow, in a match, me and Chris Jericho. Um, I gotta be honest with you. I would almost have to say 1,000,000% yes. I just can't remember. I can't remember when or when it was. If I did, Chris Jericho. Man, you know what? I would think I have because we were so close in so many organizations that we think, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd call him a friend of mine, though. Incredible guy, incredible business guy. Everything's business with him, and that's what I loved with it. He knew how to separate from personal to business, and he's just been great at what he does. So I'm a big fan of his myself.
I'll have to take a look at, because I just got his new book, actually, The Complete List of Jericho. I'll have to take a look through because there's over 2,000 matches. He has the whole list.
Wow.
If I find it,
Yeah.
in there like a match with you and him, or say if you guys tagged or something like that,
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, I would imagine there's got to be something in there, but yeah, that's pretty cool that he did that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, when you had to step away from the ring, like you said, you really had no intentions of going back. Pretty much. What were your plans after it? Like, were you just content to live in retirement, or is there something specific that you wanted to do? Were there other goals you had?
Right. So, in the other interviews, you kind of spoke about the fact I had a turnkey company, I had a paint company, I was doing motivational speaking. Now, the motivational speaking, because I pulled away from it, it was a tough thing to try to regenerate because that is something you've got to dedicate your time and life to, unless you had some kind of crazy platform like the guy that shot Osama bin Laden. He's on Fox News all the time, but he's the dude that shot Osama bin Laden. Right? So I'm sure he gets all kinds of. I'm sure he gets all kinds of public speaking gigs and all that because of who he is. So unless you had just some kind of crazy platform that comes up, if you're going to be like a Tony Robbins type or whatever, that stuff doesn't come easy, and you have to pave that way, and you have to do a lot of speaking and a lot of engagements, and you have to network your rear end off. And if you're out of that light for just a few months, it's like you're restarting all your connections again. So I never picked back on that, even though at one time I was really set on being a motivational speaker. It was something I was very interested in. I just went there for a while, and I kind of had the attitude like I don't want to start my own company again. A lot of times when you start a company, you can be uh, locked down to a certain region in the world. If you start building a company and you need 20 employees, 40 employees, 60 employees, whatever it is, you're hiring those employees from a specific town, right? And then for you to be there, you've got to be near that specific town. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, why don't I use what I have learned and my experience in business, and I'll go out and do business consulting for companies. Now, what I found was, which is not tough, especially in Atlanta, there are a lot of companies that do a decent amount of money, but they are not what you would say have corporate structure. I have met some people. It's crazy. Like you meet them and you're going like, how are you wealthy? How do you make any money, right? But but there are things all the way from. I've worked with people that don't even have a mission statement. I've worked with several companies that don't have a handbook. The last one I was with, right before I left, we had actually developed a true HR department. But we had I had just I rebuilt the whole company over 3 years. So to divisions of services, to marketing, to agreements, both for our clients, but then for our subcontractors, human resource department, 5-person people in the accounting office. So we had built the company rapidly, large. It grew over 600% in 3 years. And I guess it was during the time in which I was at that last company, I was thinking to myself, well, you know, now I'm building other people's companies for them, which is awesome. But then if you get too personal with the companies, sometimes it can be kind of tough because if you're saying, hey, but this is the direction we need to go, haven't I proven that? Haven't I shown you? And they go, yeah, I just don't want to do this. Some of it's okay, but sometimes you'll get owners that they just completely change. They become terribly successful. They see that their business is successful, and then all of a sudden, they're the smartest people in the world. They don't need you. Now, the way I've always trained or coached was never to leave myself in a situation where someone needs me. Um, all three of the last places I've been at, I left phenomenal structure and manuals and guides just so that these departments and these supervisors can run the company without me. However, sometimes when you're sitting there and you're trying to make big time decisions, and then all of a sudden someone just goes blank, like, nah, I don't want to do anything anymore. I'm good where we're at. And yet you're talking about taking the company here, and all of a sudden they're happy with here. That can be bothersome sometimes.
Oh,
So, and the only way to truly dictate what a company's going to do or not is to own it. So, I started a company, Megawatts Ventures. I'm going to have several different revenue streams in it. The first revenue stream that I'm building it's called Positively Processing. And so Positively Processing, I had been with two other credit card merchant credit card companies. That means that we set up the machines in order for you to take money, just like anything else, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's a website, or whether you've got a grocery store, or whether you've got a car wash. Anyone that takes credit cards, we set them up to have credit cards. That's merchant processing. And so I've learned a lot, and I've also consulted a lot in that industry. And the industry's wide open. So that is going to be my first business venture, is getting Positively Processing off the ground and rocking and rolling. It's going to be heavy on referral basis. So that way I don't have to have a tremendous overhead of employees. I'm going to let people be a part of the business and have some ownership in the business and make a percentage of the business. Therefore, they will be tied to their own destiny. How much do you want to make? How much do you not want to make? Will have to do with how much work you do and don't do. So the people will be 1099s, subs, and that way, if I want to go to Florida or Texas or California or move wherever I want to move, I can still move and I can still network via just like we're doing, whether it's Zoom or any kind of video. Anymore, you don't have to be at the same place all the time. We learned that through the pandemic, and that's kind of what gave me the idea of, just when I sat down, I just left the company I was with, thinking, what do I want to do? At first, I was going to jump right back into finding another company, but I actually took some time off to think, no, I don't think that's the way I want to do it. I want to be able to call the shots, and I want to be able to be I want to be able to grow something and have the total control to grow it the way I see fit after all these years. So that's what I'm doing right now.
you know what? It sounds like you got a great mind for business. Really,
Thank you.
you do. I mean, you got a great mind for business. One thing I don't understand is, why do some of these owners, especially when it sounds to me like, at least from what I'm hearing, you know what you're talking about, you know how to grow things. And one thing I noticed about you is that you don't settle for being just here. You don't do that. You always, throughout your whole story, you want to step it up and you want to be up here.
Right.
And I don't understand why these other owners in business, why don't they want that? Why are they content with here when they know they can go up?
It's funny you say that. A lot of it, let me just say this, a lot of it has to do with ego, right? Ego. And I'm not saying that they were so some that I've worked with are very, very egotistical people, and it makes it hard to bring change to them when they've got a huge ego, right? So
Yeah.
that can be a factor. The two companies prior to the last one I just left, both owners were highly egotistical in their own way, and it made it very difficult. It almost made it combative in many ways in order to help them, because it was like, well, I got to put on this facade in front of my 60 employees or 80 employees that I'm making all the decisions, but but you're actually just showing me what to do. And I'm like, right, that's why we have what we call closed door sessions. But what ends up happening is they don't pay enough attention. They want to be the coach and the owner of the football team. And so then when they get in front of their team to call out the plays, but hell, they can't remember the plays because they're not their plays. They stumble, then they lead to you to say, and by the way, so that you're coaching it, and before you know it, people are looking and going, this is confusing. Why is this person even? Well, we'll take direction for whoever the owner of the business puts in, but some of these people, like I said, want to be owner and coach and shit for that matter, probably starting quarterback if they could, if they could do that as well. And so, ego and pride is a tough thing to deal with. Just the opposite. The last company I was at, when I came in, the guy had no ego. I mean, it was the funnest environment. I mean, it was crazy. There was always something happening. But kind of like what I told you when I first got there, they had six employees. When I left, I think we had 39 or 40 employees.
Awesome.
And it was just the opposite. The most easygoing, Mr. Open-minded. I mean, when we were first starting, I used to have to tell him, no, I'm gonna say, hey, our CEO or our president. He's like, I don't like saying that. I like everyone knowing it's a small business and everyone can talk to me and I can talk to everyone. I said, I know that's a problem. You're on a first name basis, and I mean literally first name. So if they're walking in late, they use your first name. If they don't show up for work, they use your first name. So everyone, they're on such a first name basis that they know, oh, he won't do anything. And that is just the wrong way to run business in so many ways. And so you do have to let people know. And as you grow, it's nothing against the employees. You have CEO things to take care of. You're like a captain of a ship, right? And so,
Yeah.
as a captain of a ship, you have people that row the ship, you have people that clean the ship, you have people cook the ship, there's people that work the sails, work the binoculars, whatever it is. If you take the modern day, there's certain people that are watching the navigation, there's certain people running the engine rooms, it doesn't matter what ship you're on. And the captain is not doing all those things. The captain has people that he trusts and relies on to feed him the information so that he can then guide the ship on what it does, all the way from lunches to dinners to attacking another country. They use those positions. So as you're putting these scenarios in, and when I say some of these places I went into, like I said, they had no owner's manual, they had no employment manual, they had no HR department, they don't know a mission statement. um, um, uh, Two of the places didn't even have like universal health. The CEO had gotten health insurance for him and his family, and no one else. By the time I left the last place, not only did we have insurance for everybody and dental and eye, but we'd set up 401k plans and the whole thing in 3 short years. But what ended up at that one is things started being a little different. I went from, we were talking every day, even on weekends, to not talking as much. The individual had a lot of personal stuff going on, remarried, child, and all this other stuff. So they going on, and it was kind of funny because when I sat down to talk to him, he's like, I never thought I would say this, but we're so successful now. I've grown an ego. I'm like, well, that's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life, because like the more success you have, and especially financial success, it should give you more freedom not to be anyone else than who you want to be. Not You don't have to be anything for anyone. Well, I mean, what for what reason? You don't have any rear ends to kiss. You don't have to do certain things to impress certain people. Your company is jamming. So, when that happened, I had to part ways because, and that's okay. It's a maturation process sometimes. I thought I was going to be there a lot longer, but I also did not see that chain of events happening. But the guy was honest, and he'd been honest with me all the time, and just said, "Hey, I don't even know what's going on, but people see you as being the main man and this, that, and the other, even though." I was like, no, you're the CEO. we give meetings, but you're the first to speak. You direct the meetings, on Mondays, and so I don't. If people are confused, that's on you, not on me, right? But it showed an underlying weakness, because the one thing that I always say is each person's perception is their reality. So then, if he sees that he doesn't have control, or he sees this, or he sees that, I can try to talk him out of it. I can show them where they're wrong. But most of the time, if a person has that perception, it is their reality. You're just popping your jaws for no reason. So I thought about it after that, because had I stayed there, I might have rode that off in the sunset a little bit, because I still have to stay busy. Yeah, I still enjoy working. I still enjoy being productive. I'm not there to retire, and even if I retire, I'm going to probably have some kind of surfboard shop or something I run or do wherever I'm at. I don't know, anyway, because I love business so much. So I stepped back and I'm like, hey, you know what? I think that what I'll do is I'm going to start this company and grow it and see where it goes. And then I got my eye on a few other companies as well. But I don't like having too many irons in the fire that aren't of some structure. I mean, molding something that has a shape and putting in the iron to pound the iron out a little bit just to add a little curve or add a point, that's different than having three just irons in the fire that you're heating up and you don't know what the hell you're going to make. Completely different. And that's how people get confused, because you can't keep all the irons hot. And so you'll find yourself going backwards,
Yeah.
And so I won't do that. I won't put too many irons, but I will probably have multiple things going on. And again, like I said, positively processing, is I'm very excited about it. We haven't finished the website. I already have the email address, which is info@positivelyprocessing.com. So it's there. And I'm going to be dealing with more of your larger, well, I say larger companies. It doesn't have to be like a huge company, but it needs to be people that are dealing with $20,000 and up a month in credit card sales. I've been around the business long enough, and realistically, Square, when it came out, was fantastic. It was brilliant, and Square is the perfect company for people that are doing $1,000 and less of business. You can get in, you can get out. The equipment they have, it's pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to run. But most of the time, if you're getting into that, 10, 20, 30, and you're still using a company like Square wasn't built for that. Square was built for, people running a wrestling show once in a blue moon and selling some tickets or some T-shirts, or people that were doing flea markets, that aren't going to sell but $200, $300, $400, $500, in a day or 2 weeks, and just do it every once in a while. That was mainly Square. Now they're building some other products, but realistically, companies like mine, there's a whole bunch of people that if you learn the industry and learn how to negotiate agreements, you're always going to be better off with a third party company like myself or 1,000 other ones out there that go through Visa, MasterCard, to give the services. So those people out there that are dealing in big numbers, and then there's the other ones that I'm not even interested in. I'm not going after McDonald's or a Burger King or a Delta Airlines or anything like that. I don't want the headache of 5,000 pieces of equipment in 14 different countries.
Yeah.
So I'll find people that I can help and save them money, and my family make a little bit of money, and just add them on and keep on adding them and see where that takes me.
Now, this is one question that I thought of, considering everything that you've been through in your life, and we've talked so much throughout these interviews. Going back to your college football days, where there was the politics and stuff like that. Going back to wrestling, where there was the politics.
Yeah.
Do you ever run into to any kind of politic type stuff with businesses like this, or have you finally gotten away from that?
Sure. So it's funny you bring that up, right? I think it was your podcast earlier on. I don't know what section. We were kind of talking about working, and it used to crack me up when people were like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much politics that run this office." It's not. It's a man's world, or it's a this world, or it's whatever. I used to love the ones where it's like, hey, that guy over there, He's the sales manager, and he couldn't sell his way out of a box. So why he's managing other people, I don't know. The only thing he's good at is golf, and the owner loves playing golf. And I started laughing. I'm like, well, listen. So how many golf lessons have you taken? Well, none. I'm like, so if he got his way by playing golf and finding out the owner likes golf, how long are you going to hate him? Is it a stupid thing for the owner to do? Yeah, and I can't tell you how many owners do it. I mean, men, women, whatever, they do it. They find someone they like, they promote them, whatever. Not necessarily off their skills. Okay, but there's two ways to look at it. If you're going to stick around the company, who's smart and who's stupid? I would go talk. I would take some golf lessons. I don't know, putt. I don't give a shnikes what. But if I'm going to stay at that company and do it, instead of me sitting there crying about it, I'm going to make a difference about it, right? And I'm going to do it appropriately. If you're under contract, stick out your contract, but start making decisions now, so that when your contract comes up, you can make your decisions. So with that being said, um, there is politics in everything you do. It depends on how much of the politics you have to deal with, depends on how you set your life up and what position you put yourself in at a certain point in time, right? I know guys that they know everything about railroad cars and how they work and the railroad lines and all that, and those guys are going to have jobs for the rest of their life, whether it's BNSF or CSX or Amtrak or whatever, because they studied their industry and became someone entrusted with knowledge, and you can't just replace that. So they have made their own ways into those companies and done well. It's the same thing if you're consulting, or it's the same thing if you're building your own business, or like I said, when you're consulting with other people. Last three companies, all three different owners. All three different owners. All three, there was politics at all three. At all three companies, there was politics. However, coming in as a consultant, there are no politics, because to me, if you start playing politics, you have just lost out on consulting one-on-one. Because here's consulting: if you knew what you were doing, you don't need me. So I'm not here to put you down, and I'm not sitting there to say that you don't know quite a bit, but you just may not know how to market. You may not know how to hire. You may not know how to. I mean, there's a million things. I mean, build a Dun and Bradstreet number. Just a million things that you may not know how to do, or you may not be that good at it. And I know how to do it. And if I don't know how to do something, I've made enough relationships with the people that I can bring in to get those things done. Therefore, when I come in, I'm coming in to set up a company, straighten it up, and build its future. Okay, but I'm playing the cards that whatever you did in the interview, or whatever I did in the interview, or whatever I did when I assessed your company and handed you what you needed to change, you must have believed in. So it's again, it's somewhat different, because when I come into a place, I'm not worried about the politics. I'm not even worried about the everyday going on of the company. I'm on a micro level, like individual. I'm more coming in on a macro view, seeing what we can change. And then as we start changing the macro, we start breaking down into micro meetings and talking about anything from individuals to individual departments to whatever. Coming into businesses and doing that for businesses, there is no room for politics, because when I come in, I'm in charge. I don't care if your daughter works there, your husband works there, your girlfriend works there. I don't. Doesn't matter to me, one way or the other. They're just an employee. And if that employee is the right one, then they stay. If they're not, they go. And I don't have any time for crying. A lot of times when you come in on smaller companies and do something like that, there is a lot of politics that goes on behind the scenes, and the owners have to deal with that, not me. because I don't care what they like or don't like. Not in a sense of, do I care? Of course, of course, I guess I would care. I am there for one thing, to straighten out the issues and make their company as successful as possible, and put in true processes and true policies and true procedures that will stand the test of time, and it can be added to at any moment. That's my job. And if people get their feathers riled up, then okay, whatever. And not bad, not good. But just like I was telling you, the last company, there were 6 people when I came in there. Not one of the 6 people were working there within 8 months of me being there. And that's not me firing anyone. That was just as we started to lay out how the company was going and how the roles were going to be defined, that cut out the people that were there just for a paycheck and not caring. So they would end up quitting, right? And I remember, sometimes the guy go, "Oh, Eric, this person." I said, you don't need to tell me whether they like me or not. I don't care whether they like me or not. I don't like them or dislike them. Right now, I'm just trying to build your company, so I don't have time to sit here and hug people and say I'm sorry. I'm not being mean. Let's let's learn. But the 6 people that were there, and I don't care. I didn't prejudge them. They could be there to this day if they wanted to, but that's up to them. Those 6 probably weren't that happy. Maybe a few more weren't happy coming in and out the doors the first year. I'm pretty sure that almost 40 people with that place rocking and rolling could care less how I treated anyone or didn't treat anyone, because by the time I left, no one was seeing, was I treating them bad, was I treating them good, because they didn't need to. I had policies and procedures, like I said, manuals that said what to do, how to do it, and you either did your job or you didn't do your job. That it's pretty easy to judge that. You can judge the people differently that are so talented. They can do what anyone else can do in 30 hours instead of 40 hours. So you might have to find a way to motivate them. And then you got some other people who are just leaders, and the cream rises to the top, and you find ways to promote them and put them in other situations, and that happened quite a bit, at that company. So politically, as a consultant, the politics aren't there as much because of what I just said. They're hiring me to come fix something. Now, again, it does get touchy when some of the people there are family members.
Yeah.
But like I tell anyone I work for, that's a you thing, not a me thing. If they come in crying, let them cry. Don't tell me. If you tell me, then now we're gonna have a problem, because I don't need to know.
Yeah, that's not your job.
No. So sometimes that can come across when I'm teaching people or talking to people. Sometimes that can come across harsh. But I don't mean it harsh. It's just it's almost like, from what I know in business, policies and procedures and things like that, it's like steel. It's cold steel, but I would love to build my structures with steel. Right? I haven't had many good conversations with concrete. It has not talked to me, but damn, do I love building foundations on concrete, right? So the way I look at business is, I'm just setting in structures that we can build upon, and policies and procedures in order to run the company, so that you don't need to ask too many questions. It's just there. I laugh because if you go into like a McDonald's, and if you get back, or a Taco Bell, and you go into Taco Bell, if you ever really look all near all the heaters and the ovens and the presses are all pictures of exactly every meal, and what every meal is supposed to look like, right? Well, who in the heck doesn't know what a freaking taco looks like? But some people build tacos, the meat, then the cheese, then the lettuce, then the tomato, then the blah blah blah. Well, I've known people that don't like the lettuce next because it may wilt. So they'll literally do like cheese, tomato, onion, then lettuce at the top. Okay, different. Well, someone at Taco Bell said, I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and see how each person eats their taco at home. This is it. It's a shell. It's meat. It's cheese. And every time you do that, it's called duplication. The person at the windows knows what to expect. Taco Bell does not have the greatest quality of food. It sure doesn't have the leanest food or the healthiest food. But if I've eaten at Taco Bell twice in the last 10 years, I might have eaten there twice. I know exactly what to expect when I order.
Yep.
and that's something that's important about if you're going to go to Taco Bell. Again, not that I go to Taco Bell often. It's no different than if I went to McDonald's. I expect my fries to come out right, salt and hot as hell and all this other stuff. The only time I used to as a kid have a bad McDonald's is if I got an old thing of fries, and even when I was a kid, I'd take those back.
Yeah.
Redo them right. I haven't eaten a McDonald's. I haven't eaten McDonald's 5 times in the last 20 years. But I know what to expect every time I go. Japan, McDonald's was like a saving grace because when I was there and we're on the road for so long that when I got to Tokyo and saw McDonald's and know their hamburgers don't necessarily taste exactly the same, but that's one thing McDonald's said because they deal with a lot of different countries. A lot of people don't know this, but certain countries have certain religions, and so certain meat can only be prepped a certain way and kept, separate. And there's certain animals that it's against the religion to be consumed, and all this other stuff. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff. The one freaking thing about McDonald's, anywhere you go, their French fries taste the same. So you could be wherever you want, and those French fries. So um, I going back to what you're saying, my life has been pretty simple. Meaning, I know what I know. I've been blessed to learn from a lot of great people, a lot of entrepreneurs. I've had a great time, whether I'm working for someone else or working for myself. Had a great time, but again, it seems kind of crazy. I think I want to. I don't know. I think I want to start my own business again, and I have, and we'll see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How does it feel when you're going in to help these businesses? Um, like you could tell me both sides of the coin. How does it feel walking away when you just have to walk away and it wasn't a success compared to when you can walk away knowing that this business is a huge success? Like, how does that weigh on your mind when a business fails or succeeds?
Okay. So let's take one of them about 3 years ago. I'd never even been in the I'd never really been in per se the bar business.
Mhm.
And so a guy got a hold of me and said, "Hey, I talked to another person that you helped out, and they said you're the man." They said, "I think they said we've had the bar for 17 years, 2 different locations, and we're just not doing good business anymore. And I feel like I'm gonna lose it." And first of all, from what I've read, anyone that has a bar business for 17 years, that's very, very, very good. Most bars become faddish. They'll come up, and some big bar, especially in Atlanta, will hit, and it'll have a run for like 2 years, 3 years, and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off. So going into that was so different, but business is business is business. So I put things together. Now, again, this person was um, difficult to work with. Told me he was going to be difficult to work with. Um, but wow, was he difficult to work with? And it just the only thing that stunk because I didn't want to be there forever was the more hard headed that person wanted to be, the longer it was going to take me to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve so that I could leave. Never came to sit there and be there forever. Um, um, so we did so incredible within 3 years that not only did we pay cash for a huge piece of property behind the club was completely paid off, and he ended up selling the club for major, 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 major money. And he'd always wanted to move down to Miami and moved to Miami and reinvested into another club. So highly successful, highly successful. We did phenomenal. Um, I left him finally because I had it where it needed to go. Did it take me an extra year? Yeah, maybe even 2. but it took time. I saw it out. I did it. And I learned a tremendous amount of how to deal with people that are not easy to deal with. So, leaving is always not a bad thing. It was time for me to go. The next place I went to was just a person that I had worked with before, and um, didn't have the best employee etiquette. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of like a barnyard. And I was like, hey, as long as, I'll come in, and if you've changed, I'm good, and we'll work our rear ends off. And as long as you don't fall back into your old ways of, you know, just just being brutal to employees and things like that. So everything was rock and rolling, And then, matter of fact, he wasn't even coming into work much. And then as we started getting things really popping, he wanted to show back up. He wanted to put on a Superman suit, and he wanted to kind of be completely disrespectful to people.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I don't have time for it. So that one was a deuce. Like, see you later. And he found it. He was blown away. Um, Probably for another year and a half, I'd go to some of their big events because I got along with all the employees, right? And outside of work, I got along with that person. It wasn't going to work on a CEO level, like me working with the CEO. It just wasn't going to work. So this has nothing to do. Look, when you're with small business, and when people think small business, I don't know what they think. You know, Small business doesn't mean that the business is only doing $1 million. I mean, that club that I took over, within 4 months, we were doing almost $500,000 a night.
Wow.
You know, and we were putting a lot of people through there. On Friday, we put about 2,000, 2,100 people would come through. On a Saturday, 2,400 people would come through. Had that built it where it was 99 VIP tables, where the least amount you could sit at a table was a table of two people for $300. You know, so we built up. We had some really great customers and client base. So, but in there, it's a small business. What I'm saying, mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been with businesses in which they're doing millions of dollars a year, and the person has both their personal money and their business money in the business account.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people do it, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. You have to separate it. You have to take, and a lot of these owners are like, well, I don't want to take a salary because if I have to take a salary, I'm just hurting myself because then I've got to pay more tax. I'm like, okay, that's great, and so why are you renting $1 million house? Well, because I can't get a mortgage. Right, because you've never paid yourself. so,
Yeah.
so there are some benefits of trying to skirt the tax law a little bit, but it gets to a place of stupidity. What are you talking about? Because if you can't build up your score to borrow things, and you're not going to work on your Dun and Bradstreet the way you're doing that score, so you're screwed that way. Then how are you truly going to ever get in capital equipment and buy more things and do more things if you have no weight? It doesn't matter what it shows coming in because banks are very particular about seeing what goes out. So if you're just spending on a spending spree all the time, so I used to laugh because I would ask a guy, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you opened up your bank account today and you saw $2 million in it, how's your business doing? Oh, freaking fantastic! I go, yeah, but what if you have $3 million in bills? I got 2 million in the bank. I'm doing good. I mean, I just go, did that person just say that? But that's that small business mentality, and there's a lot of businesses that do millions and millions and millions of dollars a year that they're run by someone that has small business mentality or doesn't necessarily have a business mentality. And hey, listen, they're doing great. They could just do better, or they want to hand it down to their kids, right? So that's who I would work with, and most of the time, people came to me, and I would, and which was awesome because that's kind of like sifting some things out, right? Because if someone's approaching me to come help them, we already understand what my role is going to be. I don't have to prove anything to you. I'm not going to try to talk you into things. Um, but the good news was when working for those other people, I could come in every day knowing it's their business, and I can walk away whenever I want to walk away. I can do whatever I want, and there's a certain coolness factor to that, because I have had companies I've sold, and that could be a problem in itself. You sell it to someone else that doesn't treat the employees as much, and all the employees know you. Then you're starting to get calls, and you're like, "Hey, listen, I can't help you out." The company's sold. What do you want me to do about it? So, um, so sometimes just going in, working, with someone else's business and making them profitable, or more profitable, and building the business. Um, there for a long time, it was better than owning my own business. So that's why I did it.
I'm just thinking when you were saying about these people running big business with the small business mentality.
Yeah.
Now, is that an okay thing to do, or like if you're a big business, you have to have that big business mentality, and so on and so
Well, yeah, I hate saying big business mentality and small business mentality. I'm saying that people, realistically, some of them have no business acumen. They don't understand. There's certain people out there that they just do a trade that is really needed, but it's such a niche, no one else is going into it. Like let's do an interview about this lady out in California. I can't remember how many goats she has. I mean, she's got a bunch. Put it this way, a bunch of goats, right? And
on.
so one way that they're trying to cut down on forest fires, and one of the reasons why there are so many forest fires is, especially like in California, they've got a lot of these forest places that are never really gone through with cleaning them out of leaves and broken sticks and debris, right? So something small happens, a lightning crash or whatever, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, we lose 100,000 acres of forest land because it spread, because all that's sitting on the ground is dead leaves and dead limbs, which is perfect for a bonfire.
Yeah.
So they've been talking about it, and there are people like that have goats, and they're paying these people to go out and have the goats eat. Goats will just keep on eating and keep on eating. So Leslie's lady is kind of hilarious because she said literally she's got a call that she'll say to tell the goats stop eating, and then they'll just stop eating, and she'll tell them to sleep, and they'll go sleep, and then back up. She goes, but minus that shit, all they do is eat. And this lady was sitting there going, she goes, I can't keep up with the business that I have, and I get paid $7,000 a day. 7,000. She goes, but I'm on every location the whole time the goats are eating. So if I need the goats here for 30 days, I'm here for 30 days in my camper, my da 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 da. And she goes, I'm just getting older. But she goes, it's amazing how hard it is to find someone that wants to buy your business or learn your business. Well, there you go. And there's a lot of people out there that they're just in the right area or the right time, and they don't have to learn the ins and out of the businesses. I know a lot of guys that don't even know how to properly write a business plan to get a small business loan or anything like that. They wouldn't know. And I'm not dogging them. I'm just saying they a lot of your guys that, like, I got a buddy of mine that does pools. Well, he's got a huge pool company here in Atlanta that's worth millions of dollars, but all he's ever done is dig pools and put pools in. So if it comes to like marketing, everything, he didn't need marketing; it was all word of mouth. and so when it comes into benefits for employees, the guy he worked for didn't give anyone a benefit. The benefit was get your butt to work and get paid at the end of the week, right? So how does that person learn that? Well, a lot of your people that are busy doing business don't know who to ask to say, hey, how can I learn this? So you have more people than you think that don't truly know what a true business is run like, per se. But I don't want to call it big business necessarily, because at some of the places I was at, people would say, well, Eric's just here to make it a corporate company. Listen, I know what people mean. Especially you go to so many small towns. So corporate's bad, right? Friendship's good.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to work on time, bad. Knowing the boss by the first name, so I get out of it every time, good. You follow me? So I don't know if I want to call it necessarily corporate. I just call it business. And there's just certain things that each business should have, and there's certain and understand, and it will give it a better chance of expanding and being a flourishing business. That's where I come in, or that's where I used to come in and help people. And when I say part of being very good at business is knowing what you're very good at and what you suck at. So even if I come into certain businesses, when it gets to an IT department or this, that, and the other, I'm gonna call on the people that I know to come and consult me and the ownership so we can make a decision together of what we're gonna do and what we're gonna implement. Because my background's not computers. Now my little brother's background's all computers. He's brilliant in computers, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna sit there and try to tell someone how to do certain things on a computer if I don't know. And that's another part of being a good business owner and or business consultant. So those are so everything, I can't complain one bit about the companies and all that other stuff. Those people brought me into their companies to have me make them better. There was no promise of how long. Matter of fact, most time I had set the parameters already. Well, when we get to this point, then I'll probably be moving on or whatever. So no, no harm, no foul. Sometimes when things come to an end faster than you thought, uh, you could start rethinking things. But I don't know, I mean, you've done 4 parts now, and I don't think, I think you can kind of tell I'm not the guy that really sits back too long and wonders how things could have been different.
Absolutely. And just with everything, I noticed you said you wanted to, start up your own business again, which you are. When you start up your own business, are you still going to be doing stuff like this, working with businesses, or are you just going to be doing your own thing for yourself?
Sure, sure. Well, kind of the cool thing for me is that I can do whatever I want. And I don't mean that wrong. Like, if I went in to do some business consulting with people, there's people I could probably do some business consulting and say, hey, I don't need to be here 5 days a week. The last place I was at, I literally was putting in the last 3 places I was at over the last 8 years. A lot of times I was averaging 100, 110 hours a week. So, I mean, oh, yeah, sleepless. Many times sleeping at the facility in which I was working because I don't know, until things are right, it just bugs me. And so I'm all about trying to get everything in place and the place to run right. And I'm the type of guy that I'm not coming in at a level like, look at me. I don't have time for that. So it doesn't matter whether we got a problem, what, washing the toilets properly, not ordering the proper paper for our printers. When I first come in, I'm looking at every process and the way they do it, and is it successful, or is there a better way? We can do this thing right. So it's not just as easy as I've never had any consulting job to where I have been able to go and, let's say, do a 40-hour work week. ever, ever. Never. But just in the same, I probably could find some people that would say, hey, you know what, I could afford you coming in 2 days a week and show me something. Sure, I could do it that way. Sometimes I just laugh because I've never been per se at a Home Depot. I've never worked for Home Depot. It's got all the corporate stuff and all this other bull crap. But sometimes I think about it, I'm like, wow, what a great company, phenomenal stock. I follow their stock. I've got some of their stock. Um, uh, I'm not that guy that came from this one big corporation, this other big corporation type thing. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to sit down and work somewhere like that for 3 or 4 years just to see how the other side of life is. So I could pretty much do whatever. I'm just going to get this off the ground, see where it takes me. But again, I'm blessed. If it's not going as fast as I need it to do it, I can dust off my resume. I can find a consulting job. I could go out and hit the road just like everybody else and do interviews and get another job if that's what I need to do. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's that.
like with all the consulting jobs you've done, like you said, you never want to help, like a Taco Bell or anything like that, with all that stuff going on, or a McDonald's. So you've worked with businesses. Has there been a certain business or a certain type of business that you've always wanted to work with but never had the opportunity to do so yet?
That's a great question. Sometimes, even though I would say that technology is my weakness, sometimes I think, how cool would it to be? How cool would it be to working for a company like a Google or a Facebook or there's a million companies out there that are just trendsetters, right? That Teslas, Amazons, for whatever reason, right? But most of these people are based on technology. Okay, Amazon is technology. It's all logistics of getting packages and stuff there. But what most people don't know, they make more money on their cloud stuff than they do on the sales of their stuff at Amazon, right? So
Wow.
so you're sitting there looking at Tesla is nothing but a glorified iPhone. Diamond Dallas Page was telling me about 6 months ago. I don't drive a Tesla, so I wouldn't know. And he's like, Eric, you won't believe this. So I went in for the latest update on the car, but I can't get that update, or maybe it's a year ago, because my generation car is too old for the newest update. I go, what? And I go, computers? He goes, no, cameras. Like mine has whatever, 7 cameras, and it needs 11 cameras. I said, well, fantastic. Why don't you just buy some more cameras? And they're like, they don't do it like that. I go, hold on. You paid like $120,000, $140,000 for this SUV the first year it came out. And you mean to tell me that you're sitting on a car that you can't add cameras to, right? And he was beside himself. Well, I guess they found a way to fix the problem, meaning I don't know whether they got him a new Tesla or what they did. But my point to you is that's where everything's going, technology. You're going to find out GM is coming hard, Ford is coming hard, because these people also understand that if you're driving electric cars and everything's based on the computer, there are going to be all kinds of apps in which you have to pay for what you want in that car. I had a friend of mine that has a GM product. So they got a call and said, hey, your navigation needs to be updated, for all the roads and the speed limits and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, cool. And they go, okay, $200. She's like, hold on. So I got to pay you $200 to come in and update the technology. And he was like, yeah. Well, I have a Ford product. One of my cars is a Ford product. I get the same call. I go, hold on just a second. So I went and researched it. Ford actually has it to where I could download all the nav and all the new stuff for my car in a thumb drive and then go download it into the car, which I did the other day. GM wouldn't. So you didn't have the choice. If I would have taken my car to Ford, it would have cost $149 for mine. I think it's $129, because that's what Ford's hourly rate is now. But what I'm trying to say is everything is going to technology, and all technology gets outdated how fast, and you need something newer. So to me, I just think it would be amazing to be in one of these companies that they were groundbreaking and they continue to break ground all the time. Just to be in that atmosphere, I think that would just be cool as heck. Now, they'd probably find me worthless because I don't know how a whole bunch of technology. I'm not the smartest in the computer, but I'm smart enough to download my own stuff and download my navigation into my Ford to save myself some money. So so that's that. But no, it's something like that. Startup companies are hard, but I thought, before, like, man, it'd be cool to be with a startup and just know all the players and help them from ground level up to go. Thought about that as well.
Cool. Well, it's so true how you talk about technology and like with the latest iPhone and stuff, and it got me thinking. You notice with speaking of iPhones, you notice with actual iPhones, like how I don't know, after 2 years, you know how you get your 2 year device payment, you make your payments. You notice after 2 years how your phone's not working like it used to, it's slowed down, your battery dies quick, and you
Right.
like basically got to get that new device after 2 years. Like I got the what is it, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and it's nearing 2 years old, and I could even tell by November, December when it hits that 2 years, it's going to be ready for that update.
No, right, and then so you picked one of the more perfect products. Um, I remember I remember just not too long ago I had a 6S Plus along with some other phones. But the thing about it was is the 6S Plus, it just worked better than even some of the newer editions, meaning like battery life and blah 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 blah. But I
Mhm.
gave that phone away because they swore that they weren't going to let the new iOS update apply to the 6S. Well, they're still applying it, but eventually they won't be able to apply the 6S. And the next thing is pretty soon because of the 5G, right? They're gonna start fading out the others, so that it's gonna force you into a new phone because of 5G. So you couldn't be more correct. And the crazy thing about it is, the more I learn about this, is these chips, they can throttle the batteries, they can keep the batteries alive longer if they manage them properly. So there's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. But as far as businesses, the people that have apps and the people, those people are making the biggest money, because once you design the app, all you need is a force of people to keep on looking for bugs and working on it. But you don't need 1,000 people working for you.
Yeah. I'm just thinking too, Eric, because there's so many great things that we're talking about with all this stuff, and futuristic stuff. What are your thoughts on all this cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and all this stuff going on? The reason why I ask is because I don't know if you saw, these videos on YouTube or heard the rumors or read. I've heard it and read it myself that they're saying possibly within the next 10 to 15 years, we might be saying goodbye, to paper cash. There's been a couple of companies that or not companies, countries. I forgot where exactly that are already testing out. I guess all your currency goes on like, like a credit card type thing. You give them the credit card, there's your funds, that's it. No more cash. What,
Well, I
have
mean,
you heard about
but,
this stuff?
yeah, but the thing about it is, you're already doing that, right? Because if you got an iPhone, don't you have an Apple Wallet?
Yeah, the Apple Wallet app
Well,
is
I
on
mean,
there.
realistically, that's all they're talking about. That's just another form of it. I mean, Apple right now has got one of the easiest, best credit cards there is. And they'll give you up to 3% when you're buying your own stuff. From Apple, um, and so that is a way, and hence why I'm wanting to build a merchant processing company, because yes, PayPal and yes, Square and yes, Apple and all these people are fighting very hard to squeeze everyone out of processing, like merchant processing. They truly are. It's still going to be a while. But as far as getting back to cryptocurrency and things like that, everyone's always looked for an alternative to cash. What people don't really get is more countries are going to be open minded to it because no one's been able to devalue the United States. So when it really comes down to money, most of the people in the world look to what the U.S. dollar is. That's why China's been saying, hold on, they're just printing cash after cash after cash. Every time they print the cash, the billions of dollars we have aren't worth billions anymore. So they're just now putting some signals out, worried about how much cash we're spending. That's how important the U.S. dollar is. China also just kicked everyone out for the crypto market, because they've come up with their own digital currency for China. They don't want anyone else in there controlling what they do with their people. Okay, so it's coming. I just don't know exactly how it's coming, because there's so many people that are that are leveraging different ways. Like there's one company right now being investigated because they said, okay, we'll hold as much cash as we have Bitcoin. And then they blew up so fast that they couldn't keep as much cash as they said. So now the mission statement of their company is being cracked a little bit because they didn't keep to their mission statement. Okay. Bitcoin is something completely different because people can argue whether they know the author of Bitcoin or not. Everyone is just making guesses of who it is or not. And it's binary, and there's only so much that can be mined. And when it's done, it'll be based on how much is out there. The interesting part is how many people, how do they keep track of the Bitcoins that no one can ever remine because they lost the password? Because I think you can only mess up on the password 7 times, and then the Bitcoin's gone forever. They can't even retrieve it. So there's people that have lost 30 Bitcoin, 1,000 Bitcoin, and they'll be lost forever. So even those amounts can't come back. So will Bitcoin be something? Sure, but then how does it devalue when you got Ethereum and all these other ones? I'm not sure. So right now, I've done most of my investing in different ways. MARA, if you ever get a chance, look up that stock company. They're big Bitcoin miners, and they have made relationships with a certain state in the United States to get them their electric down lower, because that's the biggest cost when you're mining is your electricity, and your cooling is huge. So if you can get to a state or a country that is, that's why a lot of your big Bitcoin places were set up in colder temperatures, like your China and your Russia and some of these other places. But neither here nor there. So I invest in something like that, or I invested, I got a decent amount of stock in Coinbase. Coinbase is basically just a crypto ATM machine, but the difference is they've been making real money off their ATM machines for 2 or 3 years. It's not just a startup business that may have future earnings. They got real earnings now, and so that was kind of my way to divest, to invest into crypto, but doing it a little bit safer per se, because you put your money in Bitcoin. Something happens with Bitcoin, you're going to live and die by Bitcoin. So I just kind of now listen. I've given some pretty good insight to people. I mean, it was just last December where I had a few friends of mine, and I didn't take my own advice. And I said, yeah, you should buy. You should have at least 5% of your whole portfolio in Bitcoin, and or into cryptocurrency. And some of the people didn't have any cryptocurrency, anything, not Coinbase, nothing. And I said, listen, right now, I think it was at $12,000. And I told them to buy Bitcoin. And I have several friends that bought their 5%. They did it all into just Bitcoin. And they're very, very happy people right now.
Nice.
So it's not like, but I'm not like, my son and his friends. I mean, those guys, they really live and breathe that currency and being up on that currency. So I'm not totally there, but and I still think gold's always going to have a place because it's hard to make gold. And so, but I think cryptocurrencies of some sort is what the future is going to be. But until then, all these phone companies are making everything into an electric wallet. And then the only thing we need to catch up with that a lot of people don't know is not every company has brand new machinery. So like if you get like a contactless Visa MasterCard, it's hilarious. When I see people get them, they'll come up and they'll go buy something. They'll start tapping the machine. I'm like, you got to understand that machine has to have that technology in it. It's not just you got the card and now you can just go hit any freaking machine there is out there. It's not that. That's not it, right? And so they're like, really? I'm like, really? So there's a little technology gap too. And I can't tell you how many times I'll go into one place and I'll use my Apple Wallet to buy something, and they want my PIN number. I'm like, who programmed your machines? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. If I've got to put my thumbprint on my phone to open my wallet, you don't need my PIN debit. But it makes it even more safe. So I'll go ahead and do it, no problem. But a lot of people don't know that's how the merchant company that set that machine up, they just programmed it wrong. So there's even little tweaks in there. Like I've been at places where they'll accept a certain bank card in my Visa wallet, but they won't accept another bank card. So there's still some things to be worked out, but we're getting closer and closer to not having so many denominations of money. I mean, I listen. It was only 10 years ago they were sure we're going to get rid of all the coins, right? We're going to stop. We're going to stop needing nickels, dimes, quarters, and all that, and we're just going to have just paper. But that didn't work out. And then when you saw when this whole pandemic happened, there were banks willing to pay 110% for people to bring their change in. I remember because I always keep a whole bunch of change in my house, and at the end of the year, I count it up just for the fun of it. And I mean, I was sitting on hundreds of dollars of coins. Oh, yeah, Todd.
Hey, buddy, I just have a big storm coming through. I had a power outage, but my power came back on, so I'm trying to get
Okay.
the internet to reconnect here. I just gotta wait for it to kind of boot up.
All right. Well, we'll hit this and then maybe one other question because it's been storming off and on here, and I hear it getting ready to storm again at my house. So,
Okay.
We've been on for a little over an hour and 15 minutes, so we can knock one or two more questions and be done with it.
Okay, yeah. What I'm gonna do is I don't know if I'm gonna have to make a different stream to go in the link or not, or are you still live on there?
I'm still live on there.
Okay. Because right now it's showing me that I have no connection, so I gotta see if maybe, I don't know if I should try to shut down my computer and kind of reboot it. Maybe that'll be the best thing to do.
Well, why don't I do this? I'm
All right, sorry about that, everybody. We had a power outage here. I'm going to get Erik on the line and tell him to join back in. At least the stream is saved here. Had a power outage. Yeah, Erik, actually, the stream is still going. So if you would have stayed on, it would have kept you on air because I just got back on and I'm on air right now. So you could just come back on in the room. Okay. When I see you, I'll add you back in here. Right now, hopefully my... Whoa! I don't know if you all heard that, but that was a big thunder crash. That was huge over here. I don't know what's causing this weather to come on through like this, but this moved in fast. All right, let's see. There you are. All right. Sorry about that, Erik. Weather's happening here, but we finally got back. All right, so we were talking about the cryptocurrency in the middle of it when we had the.
I was just telling I don't invest straight into Ethereum or Bitcoin or Doge or any of that right now. I diversify. I mean, I've gone in a different way, but I have given friends of mine my point of view on it, and they've done well on their Bitcoin. That's for sure.
Okay. Through all of this, with everything, and now your business that you're working on, and like you said, you can do whatever that you would like to do. Within the last couple questions here, like we talked about when the power went out, I want to basically go over, what do you think is going to be, down the road, maybe even like the next 3 to 5 years? Do you have a plan like mapped out that far? Or are you just kind of going in the moment? Like, how are things looking?
You mean what as far as what I want to do?
Yeah, as far as what you want to do, or when you get into something.
I'll tell you, it's kind of crazy because as you get older in life, you'll figure this out. Whatever you've done, if you've done right, then you have like a huge network or Rolodex of things to do, or you have a Rolodex of things of options to do. Therefore, if the processing company didn't do as well as I was hoping, I would just sell it and, to someone that wanted to acquire the accounts I have or something like that, which you could do, and I would move on or diversify into something else. So if the older you get, the tougher it is for someone to hire you because, like right now, they would hire me hoping that I'd stay till 65. Well, every year I chew into that 65. A lot of times companies are thinking they don't want to hire you for 5 years. They want, 10, 20, 30 years out of a person, right? So you do start to limit yourself as far as being employable at a bigger company. But then I've got the consulting background as well, so there's always going to be small business companies. So what I'm trying to say is anything or everything that go on in my life, that's just the way it's set up. I mean, hell, if Vince called me and wanted me to do color commentary, or AEW wanted me to do color commentary, or whatever, I haven't even looked at that, but that could happen anytime. And if it did, I may look into that. I don't know. So I don't have any set plan of, hey, I'm going to do this, and if this doesn't work, do that, because I just always work hard to make my plans work, right? But I've never had a problem that if the plan is not working, not to stop that and just come up with new goals and new dreams and follow those.
Now with everything, and I know to the point where you're at, what about another? Oh, I don't know I don't know your age exactly. So
53.
53.
Yeah.
So yeah, like in 12 years you'll be reaching that 65 mark.
Yeah.
And do you plan on working past that? Do you think you'll always have a little something to do, or do you think there's going to come a time when you reach that age you might just take it easy? Or
Yeah, you know what? I mean that's a very good question. It's kind of like I just drove out, so that's why we couldn't do the last segment on time. Was because my dad's kind of his health is ailing, and so then to be around him and kind of see a guy that's always been a go getter, this, that, and the other, and kind of see him content with doing his everyday thing and struggling more with his health than anything else like this. So that becomes your main focus. I never want to say never, right? I think it all would have to do with my drive. Um, I can't ever see myself in a position not wanting to work. Hence why I'm thinking about starting my own companies, because my kids are going to college. My son just graduated business school. My daughter will be graduating, in another 3 years, and who knows what she'll be doing, cybersecurity for the Navy or something like that, probably. But if not, I still have kids, and so if I build a business that's good enough, maybe one of those guys would want to take it over or not take it over. But do I know the date in which I'm gonna go? Hey, I don't want a business. I just want to, wake up, go play golf and swim and travel. Sometimes I think that's what I want to do, and then I go travel for about a week and I want to cut my hair out. Not that I have much left. I'm like, wow, But that was good. So what do we
do now? Looking back at everything, you've had such an incredible story from the beginning to growing up the way that you did, just having this, incredible life and doing the whole wrestling and, now doing your own business. When you look back at everything that you've done, because I really look at it personally like you've had just one of the most incredible lives and stories really ever out of a lot of people that I've talked to. And, looking back at it, is there anything that you would change, or is there anything that you wish you could have done, or have you pretty much done it all? Or is there one thing that you always wanted to do that you never got to do?
Well, I never got to be a famous singer because I can't sing, so that sucks. No, I really take it with the utmost respect of all your compliments. I would be a fool to say that I haven't had a lot of people tell me that, even when I was a kid, being told by other kids, like, wow, your life is different or it's amazing or whatever. So I'll never downplay what another observes. To me, my life has always been my life. Nothing different, nothing too crazy. While I'm doing podcasts now, I see how crazy. I didn't see it as being crazy. Now I can kind of see where someone goes, holy crap, that's one of the craziest lives I've ever heard of in my life. I kind of go, yeah, I guess so. But I don't, again, don't really harp on it. It's been my life. I don't usually go back, like I told you, and do the what ifs. I told you that, if I wanted to go back, would I have gone to play pro football first and then pro wrestle? Yes, only if all the dog crap that wouldn't have gone in college, and if all the stuff that would not have gone in college, then there's a good chance that I would have been in the first round drafted, and I wouldn't have thought about going to pro wrestle because I would have been playing pro football because I knew I could always go and pro wrestle, right? So maybe that, but then that gets into all the maybes, and I don't, for lack of better, I just don't. I'm totally happy, put it this way, with the life I've had. Wouldn't change anything about it. I mean, realistically, the things that you wish you could change at my age might be how to, I went through a divorce. How do you stop that? I thought I did everything I could, and it still failed. That is not like any true. As an athlete, a lot of times, minus major politics, you can still, perform. Like, to me, even when they were messing with me and putting me down to the last string to mess with me, they couldn't stop me from when I got in on the practice squads to light it up. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just be the best practice squad player there is, or whatever, So I can always show my talent or get something out of something. A business too. 9 times out of 10, you get what you put into business. You really do. But relationships can be tough because you go into a relationship thinking that it's an agreement between two people, and it truly isn't an agreement between two people. It's two separate agreements between two people because it just doesn't matter what one day your significant other, your spouse, your whatever, right, can just go and go, I'm done, and there is no but we have a contract, or you there's nothing you can do about it, period, right? So sometimes those are the things that I wish I could know how to deal with, how could have dealt better, but I don't think that any other outcome would have happened. Like, to me, instead of trying to keep things together for so many years, and a lot of that has to do with faith, the way you're raised faith-wise. Maybe I would have gone, you know what, there's nothing I can do with it. It's going to hurt the kids. It's going to hurt me. But you know what? I need to focus on the fact that it's not going to work, right? So maybe something like that. I could have learned faster or better, but I got to be honest with you. I'm me, and that's the way I was raised. And so when you dedicate yourself to something, you dedicate it, and you stay on there. So I don't do a lot of going back wondering what I could have done different. And I will say, though, I can go back and see how lucky I was to have the life I had, no matter how hard it was. It was really, it's been a really special life. So, good and bad. It's been really special. So I'm digging it.
It's really one of the most amazing stories that I heard. The only other story that, really, everybody that I've had on the stories that they told, I loved,
Right.
They all have great stories to tell. Yours is up there at the top, though, I got to say. And another guy's story that really stuck with me and everything that they went through, too, is the Patriot Del Wilkes. And I still can't believe that we lost Del last week. It was
brutal.
We kept in touch for the 5 years since we did the interview, and text each other like on holidays and stuff like that. And it was so weird not getting that happy 4th of July text from Del this year.
Yeah, he's a beautiful dude, man. He's a beautiful dude, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's it's just amazing, the story he had, the story that you had, and I can't thank you enough for sharing it with us, and just letting us in and hearing everything that you got and laid it out on the table the way that you did. And I got to tell you, Eric, is there plans for you to write a autobiography, a novel about your life? And that's a serious question.
Well, no, I've had people ask me 1,000 times. Okay, so the problem with me doing an autobiography at any other point, even let's talk up today, I'd absolutely say no, because I don't know if I could guard the information that would come out. And there's so many things I've been through, and there's so many things that I've seen that I don't know if I want them public per se on all aspects, especially when it comes to my children. So that's the big game changer for me. So it's like, well, could I do an autobiography in which I don't just cover everything per se? Okay, well, maybe so. I could. But to me, I'm kind of one of those guys. If you're gonna tell a story, tell the whole story, right? So that's kept me back. But I could just shave out, situations and probably get away with it. But a lot of it has to do too, man. When you do those autobiographies, it's not normal to have people trying to come kill you, and you learning hand-to-hand combat and gun ranges and grenades and cannons and all that stuff. It's not normal. But you get out there, and in today's world, it's kind of crazy too. You can do a simple autobiography, and then you could have 9 million people just judging you based on your story because you had a lot of guns in your life, or you had a lot of physical, a lot of fights or whatever, and then all of a sudden people are perceiving you a different way. Not that you should care, but at the same time, I don't know that I'm in the position in my life to not care. Put it that way. Like if I 100% knew I was done doing any business consulting or anything like that with other companies, and but even if I had my own company, I wouldn't put my company in a situation necessarily where something could be politically said or done to hurt the company, especially with other people working. So a lot of it, maybe if I decide to slow down at 65 and I sit back and go, hell yeah, I'll do an autobiography now because it doesn't matter. I don't have a company where it can affect the employees and my kids are old enough and da da da. Maybe at that point, but prior to then, it just hasn't been an option for me because man, that's the one thing about the internet that the younger generation, is hexed with, because to me, man, everything gets on the internet, and true and false, and anyone that can search long enough can find dog crap, and it's in print and it's in the cloud and it will always be there, and that's completely different from back in the day, right? Someone could say a bad rumor about you, but if you were worth your weight in salt, then people would just judge and go, there's no way he did that. That's not his character, or that's not her character. I just don't think that's who they are. Shit, nowadays, one person says something bad about you. If it gets any traction, then the other person wants to rebroadcast it, just hoping to get fame from that post. And then it just goes viral with a whole bunch of people just wanting to say stupid shit. So that's something that's been very different in my life. I've tried my hardest to guard my children, and the people I love around me the best I can. And so, don't know. I don't know. I'm not said no, but I've just said it's not my time to do it yet.
Okay. And second part to the autobiography question. Since, maybe that'll be in the future, what about, like all of this business consulting and all the advice that you give to these businesses? Have you ever thought about writing a book on, how to do stuff with your business and things like that? So maybe businesses that you can't help, out there can go out and buy a book and kind of read up on your techniques and get your advice that way for your business knowledge.
I should take this and write this down and motivate myself to do it. I think some of mine has to do with humility. What's sad is I really don't think that. Okay, I don't think that there's much I know that people can't figure out or find out. But then again, maybe I should write about it, because there'd be a whole bunch of business people going, well, this is the dumbest book I've ever saw in my life, because that's how you do business. But then there might be a million small business people going, holy shit, so this is how business is.
Yeah.
So maybe you're onto something. I might have to think about that.
Because, you look at it, there's 380 million people in this country. And, especially if it goes worldwide, you got, a couple billion people.
Sure.
You might make a difference on, millions of business owners out there.
You never know, right? And so you might be exactly right. Yeah, I'd have to think about that.
And the reason why I brought this forward is just because when I heard you speak of business and I hear you speak on, certain things that you do, you have this, this intelligence about you. It's almost like John Taffer when he walks into a bar and right away he knows what he's going to do. That's like what I kind of picked up with you off of just these different businesses, not bars, per se, but just different businesses. Like you're almost like John Taffer. You go in there, you're like,
right.
I don't give a shit. This is how you run business. This is what we got to do.
That's a perfect parallel. John is, from what I understand, a great guy. I'm sure there's people he can rub on get under their skin or not get under their skin. He is highly motivated. He's highly intelligent in his industry. Matter of fact, I've got a friend of mine that's building a putt-putt course downtown. The city's called, it's actually called Cumming, Georgia. And downtown, and it's supposed to be the cat's meow. Like, it's gonna be really, really badass. And like, he wants people that are serious about golf to want to come and eat at his restaurant, drink, and putt. And so he's supposed to be like, oh, what's the name of the driving ranges? Top Golf. I don't know if you've ever
Yep.
heard of Top Golf, right? So he wants to be the putt of like Top Golf, where people come in after work or during the day, have their drinks, and work on the putting game, right? And I'm excited to watch this guy do this because they've already broke ground, they're building the buildings and all that. But one part of the deal is he's bringing in John Taffer to set up his restaurant bar.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's really cool, man. That's really cool. So yeah, he hired Taffer not to do like a TV remake, not just one-on-one consulting to come in and set the bar up.
I mean, he couldn't have picked a better guy to do it. I mean, I'm such a big fan of Bar Rescue and pretty much seen like almost every episode there is.
Sure.
So that's why when you were talking about business, it made me think of John Taffer.
Oh no! I mean, it's even when you go back to Restaurant Impossible. I mean, I think it was Gordon Ramsay that was originally doing it, and then what's his name, which I love to death, and he was military. The big guy, I can't remember his name now, but
Irvine.
Yeah, Irvine. Yeah. But what cracks me up is Irvine, because a lot of your people that bust their butt going to culinary school, by the time they become a great chef, they've not learned anything what they call front of the house. So front of the house, where the people are, sitting, meaning the business end. They're learning how to cook and how to run everything logistically in the back, right? But and they're the reason that people come to eat, is the awesome chefs. But a lot of your awesome chefs never become business people because they don't know anything about business. They just know what they've been experts at. Well, so when you see an Irvin and when you see, oh my gosh, I just forgot his name, Hell's Kitchen dude, Gordon Ramsay, and you get some of these guys. When you're watching Restaurant Impossible, those people are asking the same basic questions. The ones that crack me up is that you walk into a restaurant. So how much does this entree cost you? I don't know. What? like what? Like what? And if you do business enough, right? So if you do business enough, you should have everything broken down, even into like a hamburger. There's a portion of that hamburger that's your lights, your water, your rent, your however you're going to break it down so that you know your total cost. And through that, you should know what your profit margin needs to be for you to be successful. Well, a lot of times when you're watching those shows, these people might have a $8 hamburger and find out that they're breaking even because they're not buying the meat from a wholesale, or they're going to a regular person to do this, their overhead's that, their insurance is this, and before you know it, they'd have to sell that freaking hamburger at $16 to make any money. And then they turn around and go, well, we can't serve a hamburger at $16. And then that's when they get upset when the guy goes, then stop selling hamburgers. Let's find something else. Oh, but it's hamburgers. We know it's hamburgers that's keeping you out of business because you don't know how much it's costing you to make the hamburger. That's kind of what I'm talking about. And people go, well, that's stupid. No, it's not. That person can cook a better burger than you all day long. They know the ingredients. They know the temperature. They know exactly how to make it. They can make it with their eyes shut. They just can't do the other portion of the business, and so when you see those guys come in and talk to them, right? There's got to be people at home going, "Oh my God, these people can't be that bad at business." Let me tell you what. There's a million of them. I've run in from tanning salons and nail salons. It doesn't matter. A lot of these people have worked so hard on their craft. And I'm telling you, massage therapists, nail salon, tanning salon, having the best beds, when to change the bulbs, when to wipe them down, where do you put the air conditioning to make people coolest, they do all these different things, but they don't know anything about their business. Meaning business 101, right? And people like a John Taff or whatever walks in, and all his questions are the same, and all his answers are the same. I used to watch it when I first got into that doing that nightclub, right? His show came on after I was in a nightclub for like 6 months. And I remember the guy said, "Hey, Eric, have you seen this? You remind me of this guy, John Taffer." I go, "I don't even know who John Taffer is." And I was working 110 hours a week. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me, I'll record it. And I didn't watch it. And then I started watching. I'm like, man, I'd like to meet this guy. Because if I'd met him, right, I could ask him. Like, I researched all my stuff, and I came up with the same answers. I could ask this guy 20 questions, and he could have told me in 20 seconds, the answers to those things, because because that's in the restaurant business, right? I still got to the same places. Um, uh, but he had that bar Ackerman, and I watched it, and I was like laughing, and that's when I kind of came fond of watching him, do his thing, because in a lot of ways, a lot of things I did was because I didn't have the bar knowledge. So the way I negotiated alcohol, I got reps here in Atlanta still come and say I've never had anyone negotiate purchase of alcohol like you. I said, well, I was dealing like it like I was dealing with my wrestling contract. I was telling you, if I do this for you, what are you going to do for me? And they were used to doing it the opposite way, and I would just go no. Or I told certain people that had huge names, right? These distributors, a distributor may have 1,000 different alcohols, right? But they may have a marquee 10 alcohols, like they may be the single distributor for Jim Beam or Jack Daniels or Grey Goose vodka or whatever. And I get these guys coming in all the time and go, I don't have to cut you a break on these things. And I go, why? And they go, because these alcohols sell themselves. I said, bullshit. I said, I got bartenders. They pour it. They don't serve it. So you're wrong. And they go, well, that's not what we're saying, Eric. People come to your club for the alcohol. I go, no, they don't. That's where you're wrong. And I said, and guess what? This next month, I'll prove it to you. I'm not buying any of your alcohol. And they would flip out because I was going through alcohol so fast it wasn't even funny. I had a huge club. And they're like, you're the first person that would just wipe everything off the menu. I said, because you're missing it. Do I like the big name alcohol to be in the club? Yes. But I have built such an experience. I didn't have bouncers. I renamed all my bouncers to hosts because when I go to Vegas, my host is always the best. He picks me up in a room, restaurants, or there's new shows. Hey, Eric, I got your seats here. I got this. I don't have to worry about anything but having a good time and trying to remember it if I can 7 days later. And that's all I have to do. So they're there to guide you. Well, I took all the guys that were there, big muscles, no button-down shirts. You got to wear them to your wrist. Slacks, and your hosts, right? If I have a bouncer and it takes 3 bouncers to throw someone out of the place and they fall on their head, I'm getting sued. But if I have a host lightly show them how to leave, we get thanked, right? And so everything words are a powerful thing, right? So just changing it to hosts, changing up the concept, you came to this club for the atmosphere and the experience. And if you missed one Friday night or one Saturday night, you kick yourself because you missed some kind of experience. Well, yes, it's great if I have Jack Daniels or Jim Beam and Grey Goose and all those things there for those people to come have an experience. But I can promise you this, my friend, they were coming, and if we sold donkey urine, they might not drink anything, but they were coming to that club. Is what I'm saying. So there is a time when you're doing business when you have to step back for a second and not get involved in names of things and what you think business has to be. Because if you have a great enough experience, they'll drink whatever you've got there. Now, if you have the best of both worlds, like I did, I was going to have the best drinks at the lowest dollar amount and a great experience. So I had the best of both worlds. And as tough as that boss was, he opened up his checkbook like I asked him as soon as I got there. So it gave me a lot of buying power so I could do things other clubs couldn't do that put us in great situations. So so it's always fun. The book would be cool, but a guy like Taffer is a prime example of someone that could just walk in and let me tell you what, a John Taffer just like me, he it may take him 2 or 3 more weeks to learn a different business, and I'll meet him when he comes down here. I'll meet him, and I'll ask him the question myself because I guarantee he's gonna say the same thing as me. I look at it, it's widgets. All business is just a widget. You're just trying to sell something, right? And so it all has to do with your cash flows and your marketing and your administration and all those things. It could be a bar. It could be selling farm equipment. Most all your businesses it's just business. Most. I'm not saying, I'm sure someone could pull something out of a hat, some IT thing or some, I don't know, and tell me that business is different. But in a nutshell, well, this is what I do know. In all businesses, you need to make more money than you spend.
That's right.
That'll be the first chapter of my book.
Make more money than you spend wherever you started.
Yeah. How to be successful. Make more money than you spend.
I like it. I like it. Well, Eric, before we wrap it on up, is there any, because we've gone through so many things, basically your whole life.
Yeah.
Is there any final statements that you'd like to say in closing before we wrap this up? Any final things?
No, what I would like is if someone some of our interviews went very long. They had to be because we're trying to condense a whole bunch of information into one podcast, and then we go to the next and we go to the next. And by the way, you see me, I found my TNA hat to wear today.
Yeah.
So, but to go back to why I would do a podcast like this, some people have asked me. I've done a few of them. Is because my insane loyalty and love for the business. I want to promote it. We need people like you that will do podcasts to promote the business. That's most important. To keep an open mind to things, understand what the difference between being a mark and a smart mark is important to me. I love the people that get into wrestling and commentating so much they know more than someone that's in the ring, and they become obnoxious, right? And they're going to say a whole bunch of stupid stuff. And most of the time, the only people listening to them is other people that are just mad and want to vent stupid stuff. But to me, it's more important than that, and that to get the word out, and people like you taking the time to invite people, pre-think your questions, think everything that you need to do in order for the love of the industry you love. I think is very important, and I think it's people like me and Diamond Dallas Page and Scott Halls and Jake Roberts and I could just keep on going down the line. I think it's just important for those guys to pop on a podcast like yours as it is to pop on Joe Rogan's. And Joe Rogan's is very, very important, right? Very, very important. And millions upon millions of people are going to hear a Joe Rogan. But it's not the millions and millions of people necessarily that are the most important, because those people are more than likely listening to it anyway. It's the people that hops onto one of yours because they met you at a store, or they met you out, or someone told them to check out your podcast and they're listening for the first time. And you take a person that might not ever watch wrestling, knew nothing about it, they start getting interested in a podcast like yours, and they search out what wrestling they want to. And now we've got another person that's a wrestling fan that'll help keep pro wrestling alive for generations and generations to come. So out of everything that we talked about, and I appreciate you said my life's interesting, and I hope that this was interesting for a lot of people. But it goes back to the reason why I do this, and is probably no different from the reason you do it, and that's hopefully to entertain someone enough to want to look into and watch a wrestling show and see where it goes.
That's right. And I'll tell you, Eric, I'm very appreciative. I thank you so much. Not only have you been a great guest, but to be honest, with all the conversations we even had off the air, I mean, you've been like a mentor. You've been a big help along the way, and it's been awesome. And I really hope to have you back again. Actually, there's a couple things I'd like to talk with you about off air, when there's the time. But I'd love to have you back to talk again.
Sure.
And thank you again very much for being a part of this. And everybody else here, thank you so much. This has been episode number 320 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast for today, Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. Make sure, just like Erik said, some of these videos were long, but they had to be. And all I want you to do to show your support for me, for the channel, most importantly for Erik and his story, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, because I'll be giving you guys plenty more. But I hope you enjoyed it. I surely have. And you know what, guys? It's about that time we head on down the road and ride off into the sunset. So, like I always say, I'll see you next time. And don't forget us. We won't forget you. And of course, as always, I'm your host, Big T, and I will see all of you at the matches. Take care. I love you all. We'll see you later. Good night, everybody.
Go.